Just like 2018, this year has made cinematic history. You all know how this goes. I've seen many films this year, and I have to say, this was definitely the hardest year I have ever come up with, like, a top 10. The first 5, like, the top 5 that I picked, they were pretty easy. But after that, like, 10 through 6, they were some hard ones. But I managed to make a top 10 list. As always, I will say all the top 9, and then I will give out some honorable mentions, and then I will list my top movie of 2019. Now, I will say this as well. My honorable mentions do not, like, pass any of, like, the top 5 or any of that. They can go anywhere on the list. It just means I like them, and I wanted to give them a special shout-out. I do ask that you respect my opinions. I also want to hear what you guys have to say are your top 10 movies of 2019 as well. So without further ado, we are going to be going through my top 10 movies of 2019. So let's get started. Coming up at number 10 is Jumanji: The Next Level. I first saw Jumanji when I was 7 years old, and I absolutely loved the story about, like, of a game coming into real life, and I loved Robin Williams' version growing up, and I still do to this day. And so when Sony announced they were going to do a reboot/sequel to the original, I was nervous and excited for it, but the movie managed to capture the same elements that I liked about the first Jumanji. And I like seeing The Rock, Kevin Hart, Jack Black, and Karen Gillan playing, like, teenagers who were stuck in a video game. And it was pretty cool, and they made subtle callbacks and references to the old movie. So they said they were going to do a sequel to it, which I was very excited for the third installment. And I have to say, I love Danny DeVito and Eddie Gilpin that they were introduced in this one. And the story was really good. I thought it was really cool. The action set pieces were everything I've ever wanted for an action movie. And you guys know I love action movies. I love action adventure movies, and they're quite honestly, like, my favorite genre. And this year had a lot of good blockbusters movies, and a few of them show up on this list. This was, of course, another great cast, great sense of humor once again. And after that end credit scene, I'm hoping they're really going to do a fourth installment, because that end credit scene was kind of crazy, and I like the idea of what they're heading into. So I pray that they do come up with that. I gave the movie a 8 out of 10 score, if you didn't know, and it ranks at number 10 on my list. Coming up at number 9 is Frozen 2. Now, as many of you guys know, I'm not the biggest Frozen fan, and there's a lot of people out there that are like me. When Frozen came out in 2013, I liked it the first and second time I saw it, but after I saw it ever since then, I don't like it. So I don't know. It's just there's nothing. If Frozen isn't for everyone, I will say that. It's kind of like Disney. It's not for everyone, but it's okay. I'm not hating the movie. It's just not one of my favorite Disney movies of all time. So when they announced that they were going to do a sequel to Frozen, I wasn't at all excited. But I will say, after seeing the trailers and the marketing for the movie, I just had to go see it because it looked really cool. And Disney got me to like Frozen again. I really liked it. I liked how they, like, explored Elsa's powers, and how they tied everything back to, like, the source and her parents and everything. And they got me to like Anna. I don't hate Anna, but I just didn't like her in the first film. So I like that they got me to like her in this one. As always, Kristoff and Olaf were a delight. I love them from the first movie, and I like seeing them again in this one. Olaf was definitely the funniest part about the movie. I love the Samantha joke. That was really cool. I did not see that coming at all. And the songs were really good as well. The problem I had with the first movie is, while the first one had really good songs and they really stick with you in the head, you know. Something I will say is, they get kind of like, you know, cliche. They're kind of like cliche Disney songs, you know. So with this one, the songs were a lot better, and I really like them. I almost have the entire soundtrack on my phone. But my personal favorites are Lost in the Woods, Into the Unknown, and of course, Show Yourself, because those three were really good. I really, really like those three songs. I gave the movie an 8 out of 10 score, and it ranks at number 9 on my list as well. It's also a beautiful animated movie as well. And it juggles like different emotions as well, between like, comedy and then emotional moments between Elsa and Anna, and Kristoff, and I like that a lot as well. Coming up at number 8 is Toy Story 4. Now, I was 9 years old when Toy Story 3 came out, and we went for my brother's birthday, and I absolutely loved the ending. So when Disney announced that they were going to do a 4th installment, and they said this is going to be the finale, this is going to be the last one, I was very nervous, but I was also excited to see where they were going to go with this. And the movie managed to have a final conclusion, a fitting conclusion to all these characters. I love seeing Bo and Woody reunite, and that's something I wanted to see in Toy Story 3, and I was kind of disappointed that they didn't have Bo in it. But they finally included her in this one. I love that Buzz was the comedic tone a little bit, and how he got to his chemistry with Jordan Peele and Keith McKee. And I liked all the new characters that they introduced, like Gabby Gabby, Bookazum, or Forky. But what really got me was the ending, and I was not expecting something like that. I took my little sister to go see it, and we watched all the three before we went to go see it, and I was bawling. I was crying through the last 10 minutes of the movie, because I don't know if it was the dialogue, the music, or the animation, but just seeing Buzz and Woody saying their final goodbye, and seeing Woody get to live the life that he wanted, because Woody believed throughout his entire life of being a toy that he was there to be for the kid. And he was there for Andy, and then Andy gave him to Bonnie finally. And then Bonnie, was playing a lot with more of the toys than Woody was, and then she got Forky that she made up, so. And Woody felt like that his job had been complete, and he wanted to, live his life with Bonnie, with Bo again. So just seeing him and Woody, seeing him and Buzz go their separate ways, and passing on the mantle to Jesse, it was sad, but it was also heartwarming. I loved it as well. And I've been watching all the Toy Story movies since I was my little sister's age. I watched them when I was 5 all the way up to now, and it's incredible. And I just remember my little sister, Kyra, she was just like, "Why are you crying? Are you okay?" And I was like, "I'm fine. It's just, I've been watching these since I was your age, and I just loved all the characters." So I really did enjoy seeing this movie. And I gave it an 8 out of 10 score on my rating, and it's at number 8 on my list. Number 7 is Shazam. I will say this. After I saw the teaser for Shazam, I was very, very nervous about going into this movie. I was kind of worried where they were going to take Shazam into the DCEU for his first solo film, and I don't know, I was kind of worried how they were marketing it and stuff, and I was thinking, this might not work. But I will say, after seeing the movie, I was very, very shocked of how they pulled this off. This movie managed to juggle 3 different types of genre. It had the action, it had the comedy, and it had the horror elements, which they all worked in one cool way. The director, he did an outstanding job. Zachary Levi stand out, of course, playing a 15-year-old kid who had the superpowers of an adult, and it looked like an adult. And I will also say this, the movie manages also to capture that family element throughout the movie, and for me, it captured what it was like growing up and, wanting to be a superhero, and what you could be like, or what you could do if you had, superpowers and stuff. So it was really cool to see how they managed it. The cast and crew were amazing in this movie. They did a fantastic job. They're shooting for April again for 2022, and I'm very excited to see Shazam. I think Black Adam 2 is coming out, the Black Adam movie is coming out next year or in 2021. So I'm very excited to see that as well, with The Rock starring as Black Adam, of course. The movie also has a lot of references and Easter eggs to the last other DC movies, and it also has references to, of course, the Shazam, especially the New 52 one. A lot of these newer DC movies that are coming out. Actually, I will say this: besides Marvel, the DCEU is kind of the most accurate, comic book representation in any comic book like trilogy. I will say that the MCU does have callbacks and references to the comics, but for right now, DCEU is kind of doing, especially with Aquaman and Wonder Woman and now Shazam. And I'm excited to see where they go with this. I wonder if Birds of Prey and the Batman come out with that as well. If they'll be like more comic book accurate than, just, Marvel originals that just reference or have small Easter eggs to the comics. I'm also excited to see Shazam team up, with like the Justice League members. That's something I'm very excited to see. Hopefully he does. I don't want him just to be, his own solo movies and he not going to be in any team-up movies. But I'm sure he'll be able to team up with them very, very soon. I gave the movie an 8 out of 10 score as well. And I will say this. This is not just one of the greatest origin comic book, one of the greatest origin stories of all time. This is also one of the greatest comic book movies of all time as well. It was just really, really cool. I liked everything about it. It's everything I wanted for a good superhero movie. Coming up at number 6 is Steven Universe the movie. Now, I know some of you are not going to put this on this list because I know some of you are going to be like, "Well, it didn't come out in theaters, so why are you putting on your top 10 list for movies?" It is a movie, okay? I mean, it is. And I will say this: after watching every single episode and singing throughout all the seasons, I did not think that the movie was going to live up to what the TV show was. But no, the movie really did great. I really, really liked it. It did everything I wanted for a Steven Universe movie. And not only is this on my top 10 movies of this year, this is also one of my favorite movies of all time now. Yes, I know. I'm going to do a top 20 or 25. I'm still working on that. Don't worry. I'm going to work on... This is going to be on my top 20 movies of all time, which I will do a video on coming up in 2020. See what I did there? But this movie manages to tell a new story for the fans that have been watching it since the very beginning, and it also introduces to newer fans or new audience members that are just going into this not knowing any of the characters, the storylines, or nothing. And it manages to juggle all that with it, being an amnesia story. And I will say that Spinell, oh my god, she was one of the best. She's one of the best villains on cinematic. She's up there. She's up there with Killmonger, Thanos, Voldemort, Mr. Smith. She's up there, you guys. There's just something about her character that speaks to me on a personal level. And her song, Other Friends, it's up there with Scars, Be Prepared, and it's just she's one of the greatest villains of all time because you meet her, then you get to understand her and you get to know her, and then you know why she's doing all this, and by the end of the movie she makes a full revelation. She has a full recovery and redemption arc throughout the movie, and it was just really well done. And it just shows again why Steven Universe is one of the greatest cartoons ever made, and it's ever been put on the screen. And Cartoon Network doesn't get a lot of it doesn't get enough recognition for what it deserves. I remember growing up watching Cartoon Network for the longest of time, and I still watch it here nowadays. It's still got a few good shows, but it's just not the way it used to be anymore. And it's really sad to see Cartoon Network go down to a certain degree. But this movie was really, really good, and I ranked it a 10 out of 10. It gets a perfect 10 out of 10 for me. I know, say what you want, go ahead, I don't care, but this is one of my favorite movies of all time, and for that, it deserves a 10 out of 10. Coming up at number 5 is Gemini Man. We are here at the top 5, you guys excited for this? Gemini Man. I said this to one of my teachers this year. I said that this is Will Smith's year in cinematic. First, he had Aladdin, then he has Gemini Man, then he's ending it with Spies in Disguise. And I'm going to already say this. I haven't seen Spies in Disguise yet, but he's probably going to kill it. With my boy Tom Holland in it. But this year has been really good for Will Smith. I haven't seen Will Smith this like energetic and all in the media with all his fans, and just seeing him I just feel like Will Smith's had the time of his life this year. This is one of the best action movies I've ever seen. Ang Lee does a fantastic job with his cinematography here. I would also like to say that I would like to put this as an example of what a perfect action-packed flick this could be. If I was to take a class, I would want this to be a perfect example of what it should be like. It has a small cast, which makes it feel real, and it doesn't feel like it's overpacked or anything. The story is crazy. It's really well done. I liked all the characters they introduced. They weren't like too cliche. They weren't overdone. They just felt natural. They felt real. The action felt real. It didn't feel like that cheesy cliche action that we always get in these action movies. The fight scenes were intense. They were really well done. The choreograph was amazing. And this is one of Will Smith's best performances ever. He plays two different characters. He plays Henry and then he plays Junior, and he captures it really, really well done. I really liked it. I gave the movie a 9.5 out of 10 on my score, and I will be sure watching this movie over and over again for the longest time. It's really, really good. I cannot wait to see it again. Coming up at number 4 is Aladdin. Now, as many of you know, Aladdin is my favorite Disney movie of all time. There's nothing about it. I grew up watching it. I love Robin Williams, Genie. There's going to be nothing that's ever going to top that. I love every performance Robin Williams did. So when I heard that Disney was going to start doing, their live action adaptations and reboots like Cinderella, Alice in Wonderland, I was really excited. I really wanted to hear them say they were going to do Aladdin. So when they announced it, I was of course nervous and excited for it. And if you've seen my reactions to them, you know that I was really looking forward to this movie. And I will say this really did something. It was really, really good. It captured what I felt growing up watching the animated movie, but it also managed to create something new for new audience members. And that's what I like so much about these reboots. Some of them are doing them. Others, like The Lion King, just, didn't meet my expectations like that. But one thing I want to say about these live action reboots is that not only are they doing them, just make a quick buck at the box office, but I also want them to do something different with these live action ones, like Beauty and the Beast did, where they explained Belle and her mother, like what happened to her mother, and they explore why the prince was so mean and everything, like why all that, and then they had like a little LGBT representation with Buffoon and all that, whatever that was about. Alice in Wonderland completely went different than I thought. It was, of course, directed by Tim Burton, so he's going to turn something around. But he did that really good. So with Disney's Aladdin, what they did with this one was so good. I like that they made Jasmine more dependent. I know what people say. Jasmine was already a dependent woman in the animated movie. She was, but I just felt she didn't get the screen time that she needed. I felt like she deserved more. So I appreciate that they gave Naomi Scott a full privilege, to give her the full character and get her to do whatever she wanted with it. Mina Masood did a great job with Aladdin. I know that he's having trouble right now with auditioning. You guys need to get on that. Hook a brother up. Mina Masood did a great job in this movie. And, Mina, if you are watching this, if I become a director, and I will hire you on the spot. I don't care what the movie I'm directing. I'll say put Mina Masood right there. And what can I say about Will Smith? He did a phenomenal job as the Genie. He made it his perfect own character. He wasn't trying to copy it at all what Robin did. And he made the character his very own. And that's what's really good about this movie. I gave the movie a perfect 9.5 out of 10 score. And it remains the same. I don't care what you people say. And I go back and forth. I go back and forth. I love the animated and I love the live action. I don't like either one. Neither one tops the other. I just love both of them the same way. And I really hope that they're developing the sequel like they keep teasing. They keep saying, oh, we're going to make it. It's going to be completely different than any other Aladdin movie that we've ever done before. So, get on that. I'm really excited for that. Okay, we're here at top 3. And it is Joker. Now, I know all people are going to say, why isn't this at number 1? Hey guys, you gotta give me some credit. I put this at number 3, okay? So it's up there. It made it to the top 5. Joker, I really like this movie. It's really, really good. For the longest time, DC's been wanting to do a solo film on the King of Crime, but WB's always been worried that the story and the character that DC wanted to pull off and show to the world was too dark and gritty, and they are right. But WB was managed to make not only one of the greatest comic book movies of all time, but one of the best movies of all time, if not one of the best movies of the last decade. Joaquin Phoenix does a fantastic job with his performance as the King of Crime. He pulls it off. I go like Aladdin. I go back and forth with him and Heath Ledger. They both just nail the character. I love both of their adaptations of this character. It's not your ordinary like comic book movie. It's not. And I was at work last night, and my buddy Eric, he said that one of his friends went and seen it, and he said he hated after watching it. And I said, okay, it's not a movie for everyone. You know, it's not going to be a movie for everyone. And Eric was like, yeah. And Eric told me that his friend didn't like it because it wasn't comic book accurate. This movie isn't supposed to be comic book accurate. It's supposed to be its own original story with its original characters and an original like idea around it. It wasn't supposed to be like comic book accurate. It wasn't supposed to set up some cinematic, like it wasn't supposed to set up like any crossover. It was just supposed to be like a solo film about a guy who had mental illness and a society that treated him terribly. And the movie did a terrific job at it. It nailed it, and I like this. It's not just one of my favorite comic book movies of all time. It's one of my favorite movies of all time. The movie manages to blow me away in so many ways that I never thought the movie was going to do. It has great performance, great acting, great screenplay, great score. Oh my god. Everything about this movie just was perfect. It was a really good movie. Now I know it's not going to be a movie for everyone. I know people said that it's not, like it was too dark and gritty. Yes, it is. And I don't know if there was a PG-13 rating we could have told a Joker movie. I mean, there could have been, but I don't know if it would have been as good as this. Like, I'm not saying it wouldn't have been, I like this as well. And despite what people say about Jared Leto and all the beef that he's starting up with this movie, I don't care. I like this one. It was really good. And it's also really sad that we don't get to see this one in the DCEU anymore. But something I do want to say is that I like that WB is doing something different than Marvel is doing. Marvel is just having one cinematic, universe. They're having only one cinematic universe. DC's doing two different things. They're going to have their solo films that later team up into bigger crossover movies like the Justice League and Birds of Prey movie, but then they're also going to have these solo films talking about just certain characters, and that's what I like. I like that they're taking it in a new direction. And hopefully they do this. I would like to see like a solo film like on Two-Face or I wouldn't say Darkseid. I don't want any cosmic character. I want something that's like in-depth character. Like if they just did like a lot more of these villains. Like Two-Face would have been really good. Any of the Batman Rogue Alley would be really cool to do. Maybe a Lex Luthor movie would be pretty cool to do. I don't know how they would do that, but it would be pretty cool to see how they pull that off. This movie though gets a 10 out of 10 for me. I don't care. I was never bored throughout the movie. It kept me on the edge of my seat. It achieved everything I wanted for a Joker movie, and it really stands out for me as one of the best movies of this year. Coming up at number 2 is Spider-Man Far From Home. Now, I was very, very nervous going into this movie because it takes place after the events of Infinity War and Endgame, and as everyone has seen those movies, this movie just blew me away in so many things. I did not expect that they were going to make this movie better than Homecoming. I loved Homecoming. Before I went and seen this movie, Homecoming was my favorite Spider-Man movie of all time. And if you've seen my ranking of all 9 Spider-Man movies, I encourage you to go check that video out because I go into depth of all 8 Spider-Man movies, including Venom. But before Far From Home came out, Homecoming was my favorite Spider-Man movie. But this movie manages to top it. And I love this movie. And once again, like in 2017, a Spider-Man movie is coming. Actually, now that I think about it, all my rankings of all top 10 movies, 2017 and 2018, all have a second place for Spider-Man movie. So I'm wondering if there's not a movie coming out next to Spider-Man, like a big team-up movie, like an Avengers or something. When the third Spider-Man movie comes out, I wonder, is Spider-Man going to make a number one spot on my list? Who knows? We'll see. But back what I was saying. I was very excited to see this movie as it follows the events of Endgame and Infinity War. And this is my first movie that I saw in 4DX. And let me just tell you, oh my god, the experience I had. I had it in 4DX 3D. And the action blew me away. It has some of the best Spider-Man visuals I've ever seen in a Spider-Man movie. Ever. I loved it. It did everything I wanted. You had not only my favorite superhero, you had my favorite Spider-Man villain in it. And I will pleased to be saying, I've had this tattoo for this entire year. And I'm going to be saying I'm going to get a Mysterio tattoo on the same arm. And I'm very excited about that as well, because they finally got my favorite Spider-Man villain on the big screen, and Jake Gyllenhaal did the character so great. He was so perfect for the role. I'm very excited that he signed on to this, and I know that he's not dead. I know he isn't, so I know he's coming back in Spider-Man 3. And everyone keeps saying, "Look, he's dead. He's dead for." No, he's not. They would not. Sony and Marvel would not just kill off not only a good villain, but of course Jake Gyllenhaal, an Oscar a big time winner nominee. Like they won't kill him off. Trust me. And just seeing Tom Holland again performing Peter Parker, my favorite incarnation of Spider-Man, like ever. He nails it both as Peter Parker and Spider-Man. He does it so well here, and it was so sad to see him go through all the emotions, and it did everything I wanted for a Spider-Man movie. You had all the funny moments, you had the action moments, you had the emotional moments, you had all the in-depth and comic lore to it. And I really enjoyed the illusion scene. That was something I was waiting for, and it delivered. It did everything I wanted. And just seeing the chemistry between Peter Parker and MJ, and I just love their chemistry together. It's my favorite. And Tom Holland and Zendaya, they have this chemistry on and off screen that's just beautiful. I love seeing them together. I wish they were together. It's so cute to see them together. The movie makes a perfect 10 out of 10 on my score, and it ranks at number 2 on my list. I'm very excited to see where they take Spider-Man after that end credit scene. Whew, it's going to be so good. Alright. And we've made it to the honorable mentions here. So I know you guys are kind of worrying about that before we get to number 1. So honorable mention, number 1, Us. It's another crazy and great movie by Jordan Peele. It has an incredible cast, crew, score, and screenplay. And I cannot wait for his next adaptation. Number 2, Hobbs Shaw. After watching all 8 of the Fast and the Furious movies, I was really excited to see where they were going to do a spin-off on, Hobbs and Deckard Shaw. And it was really cool. It had incredible action set pieces, great back-to-back comedy with The Rock and Statham. They did fantastic together. And also, like in Spider-Man Far From Home, I saw this again in 4DX, and it was really cool. Every action set piece stood out to me throughout the entire movie. Number 3, Pokemon Detective Pikachu. I loved Pokemon growing up. I watched every single cartoon. I watched every single series, and I watched every single season growing up. Every single Saturday morning, just waking up, it'd be on, and I just followed it. I played all the video games on my Nintendo DS. So when they said they were going to do a live adaptation, I was very looking forward to it. Me and my cousin Robert went and seen it. We had a blast together. It really was good. It had impressive visuals with all the Pokemon, and it really did a good job with like a detective movie. Number 4, How to Train Your Dragon 3. This movie, like all the movies on my list here, about every single movie on this list, has a final conclusion. This is the year of final conclusions, or the final chapter in some stories. And this, I would have felt very wrong if I did not put this on my list, but it was really, really good. It had a really good ending. It almost had me tearing up towards the end, and it had a perfect ending for all these characters that I've been watching ever since I was really, really young. Number 5, the last honorable mention, Star Wars: The Rise of Skywalker. Now, as all you know, I'm a big Star Wars fan. But after seeing The Last Jedi, I was starting to lose hope. I was starting to feed into my anger. Anger leads to hate. Hate leads to suffering. And suffering leads to the dark side of the Force. So, I was really, really nervous going into The Rise of Skywalker. And I will say this. It was an okay Star Wars movie. It's not for everyone. It pleased some fans. It didn't please some fans. I'm somewhere in between. Okay? It was better than Last Jedi. I will say that. And I will be doing a ranking of all the Star Wars movies. So be looking forward for that as well. Because I'll go into depth of every single Star Wars movie that I want to rank. But it had a good conclusion. Not the conclusion I would have picked for a Star Wars ending for this Skywalker saga, but hey, it's okay. It was a passable. So I still enjoyed it. And spoiler warning, if you do not know, but we are here at the #1 movie of 2019, and I'm wearing my new hoodie I got for Christmas, and it's Avengers Endgame. Okay, yes, I know. How could it be Joker? Here's why. I've been watching the MCU ever since I was 7 years old, with the first Iron Man coming up in 2008, and the movie blew me away. I loved it. I've been watching every single Marvel movie coming out, and each one does something different. People don't realize this, that the Marvel movies, and I'm not just speaking about Marvel movies. I'm talking about some comic book movies. Most comic book movies, they're not here to tell us an action-adventure story about good versus evil. They're also here to tell us about a story for a new generation. My parents had Star Wars, Star Trek, and all these horror movies like Nightmare on Elm Street, Halloween, Friday the 13th. My generation now has the MCU and DCEU, and they're also getting newer ones. New franchises that are coming out. We're going to get a new Star Wars saga soon. We're going to get all these new spin-offs. It's just crazy. So, with my generation, I'm proud to say that I have enjoyed the MCU so far, and I'm very excited to see where they take it after Avengers Endgame, Captain Marvel, and Spiderman Far From Home. But just seeing the original 6 Avengers, Iron Man, Cap, Thor, Black Widow, Hawkeye, it was so good to see them all again, and each one got their own moment to shine. I love seeing all the characters interacting with one another, and then seeing the massive growth and how they were managed to beat Thanos. It was just breathtaking, just all the callbacks and references to the old movies, and the movie perfectly executed what a good comic book movie should be. And it's one of my favorite comic book movies of all time, and there were 3 sacrifices. Well, technically there was 2, but there were 3 deaths, you know. You had Black Widow, Iron Man, and Captain America, even though we don't see him die, but it's indicated that he died. Each one was really cool. I did not expect Black Widow to die. That was something really, really heartbreaking to watch, and I'm going to miss seeing Scarlett Johansson playing Black Widow. I mean, her solo movie's coming up, which is going to be set in the past, but other than that, she did a really good job here. RDJ, fantastic job as Iron Man. Really good, and his sacrifice was well deserved. And then Captain America, just seeing him get to have his dance and live the life that he always wanted and be at peace. It was so good. I like seeing all the passing of the torches to like all the newer heroes, and I'm excited to see where the MCU takes off, of course. We got Phase 4 and Phase 5 coming up soon. Okay. Stop crying. Stop, okay? Tears are gone now. I'm good. So this is a perfect 10 out of 10 score, and it ranks at #1 on my list. So what did you guys think about my top 10 movies of 2019? I know, trust me, this was a hard list to come down to. It was really, really hard. I was, as I'm writing some of these, sometimes I'm thinking they're not too hard to make. They're pretty easy to do, but no, this was the hardest one I've ever had to done. So I hope everyone enjoyed my list. Leave your suggestions down below of what your top 10 movies were of this year. And I'm very excited to see what we got coming up in 2020. It looks like a good year, and I'm very excited to see what we got coming. So thank you guys so much for watching this video. Go check out my ranking of all the Spider-Man movies. Look forward to the upcoming ranking videos that I've got coming up in 2020. And I will be doing my 2019 rewind video coming up soon. So stay tuned for that. Thank you guys so much for watching me for this year in 2019, and look forward to seeing me again in 2020. Thank you and goodbye. And remember, always imagine bigger.